Hey guys, welcome to the Tech of Things podcast. Sorry for last week. I was feeling a little under the weather, and Jake was a little bit out of commission. Um, so we had to postpone until this week. Luckily, we are still covering the topic of our modern day PC parts. Um, so kind of recap on where we are. This is season 2, episode 2. Um, Episode 1 of season 2, we covered the history of PCs. Pretty cool episode. We could have gone into a lot more detail, but we didn't want to drag you out and bore you for 3 hours on the history of the PC. But if you haven't checked it out, go back, browse through it, check it out. We covered a couple of the integrations throughout the years of the history of the PCs. Where we started, where we went, and where we are now is kind of what we're covering today. Is where we are now.
Awesome. Also, I would like to apologize for any audio issues this week. On either of our ends, he's running his laptop audio. I'm running new sound system here because I am tired of using my Astro 850s for the podcast, so yeah.
Yeah, and December is kind of my busy season. I am out here in Houston, Texas at the moment, little ways from home. But yeah, so we're getting after it. We're trying to do the best we can to keep up. November, December has kind of been my busy time for work, and along with the holidays, it is proved to be quite difficult keeping up on the stream every week. I know we took a week-long break after over Thanksgiving, and then tried to get back after it. And we ended up having to pre-record that episode. And then we had to take off a week because we were both kind of out of commission. And then we're actually pre-recording this episode for you now because I am supposed to be on an airplane coming home tomorrow. I guess, well, when you guys see this, it'll be, by the time you guys see this, tomorrow, for me,
Thursday.
It'll I'm trying to put the way to say it, Thursday. I'll be on an airplane.
Thursday the 17th.
Yeah, coming home Thursday, and then I am actually home until the first of the year. So
sweet.
Yeah. So
which the next week is the 24th.
Yeah, I think. I won't be there. I won't be at the church, Jake, for the Christmas thing. I didn't know if you still wanted to think about. I don't know if you've got anything going on after.
After, I have no idea.
Or maybe, I'll be home for the most part of that day anyway, so maybe if you wanted to pre-record that episode too.
Season 2 basically just all pre-recorded. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. We promise we will go live eventually. We plan on doing a game night at some point.
Yeah. Because this is episode 2. Episode 3 would be next week, so maybe we can do game night then. Because you do episode 3 game night. Maybe.
Well, episode 3 would be on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So
we will figure this out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make an update. Make an update. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming in and joining us and watching us and hanging out. Jake, I don't, in all the rush and mutter, I don't think we came across a hot tech, but I think you wanted to talk about the PC build.
Yes.
PC build will be next week. So we can kind of put that. We can pre-record that and kind of put that together.
Yeah. That'll definitely be a much different episode. There.
Yeah, definitely.
I have this piece of hair that's just right
in your way.
Yeah.
So the PC's done.
Yep, I gave it to him Sunday.
Yeah, we were all there. We watched it boot up, and things looking sweet, and man, is that thing quiet.
Yeah, it's very, very quiet.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, I was impressed. I can't wait. Yeah,
me and
I can't wait till. Does your audio keep going in and out?
no,
Oh,
it should we keep
maybe just the
we just
Wi-Fi.
yeah we both just keep going to say something and
Yeah.
you go first.
So yeah, so man, that thing is screaming, firing on all cylinders. It's quiet, and I mean, that thing looks sharp. We got the RGB stuff looks great. Jake, you did a great job with the wire management and everything. I mean,
Do not look at the
I don't want to
back.
give
Don't look at the back.
no one ever takes the back plate off.
I hope that he doesn't. He ain't gonna get back on.
Yeah. So
Just joking. It's possible. I did it once.
So, yeah. So I'm excited for you guys to see that, and yeah, we'll kind of do that next week and kind of throw that video up on there next week.
But yeah,
it's
me and the guy who actually got it, we've been playing Titanfall 2, World of Warcraft, and we're gonna be playing some Sea of Thieves, and it's running very, very well. So yeah, he's very happy with it.
awesome. One thing I wanted to talk about, Jake, while we can kind of use this as our hot tech. The game Cyberpunk.
Oh, Cyberpunk! No.
Have you seen it, played
I
it,
have.
done anything?
I've seen it. I don't know how I feel about it.
I haven't watched any game clips on it or anything yet. I was debating on whether or not I was going to when I finally do get my PS5, it's inevitable that I'm going to get one eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. If I was gonna get, because apparently they're doing a lot of dev work for to put it on the consoles. I mean, right now they have it on the old gen consoles, the PS4, Xbox One, and it's not meant to be played on those consoles. It was built and designed to be played on a screaming PC or the two next gen consoles, the Xbox Series X and the PS5. So that I've heard a lot of backlash about how the games kind of crappy on these old consoles, but at the same time it wasn't
built
built and
for
designed
it.
Right.
You can't expect something to work well if it wasn't built for it. It's like trying to take it's like trying to take like a PS4 controller and trying to use it on an Xbox. Unless you do a lot of coding and figure out how to do it, I have no idea how to do it. Not going to work. It's not going to work well, even if it does work.
Right. Exactly.
Not built for it.
So yeah, I wanted to hear your take on that. I kind of threw that at you, blindly, but I didn't know.
I mean,
I don't really know what the game's about. But...
Yeah. All I know is it looks really cool, but I don't think that's like anything that's like I want to have this right now kind of thing.
I kind of want to say it's almost like the Watch Dogs game. Like, there was a big hype about the Watch Dog games, and then once they came out, there wasn't a whole lot of hype about it.
Right.
But I still know people that still play Watch Dogs and played both of them.
So I have a feeling it's kind of coming down to like it's coming down to the Division games. Super hyped. Released absolutely buggy, just didn't have a good feel. I think that's what happened here with Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077, whatever.
77, yeah. Because I mean, it was hyped up, it was talked about, and then it was released. And then they also released it for the old consoles, and it just wasn't quite built for the old consoles, and it's buggy and
trying to give me a little bit more light.
Yeah. So it's buggy and doesn't quite give you the feel that you were expecting for the
Right.
game. But anyways, after I threw that at you blindly, we can go ahead and start talking about um, our topic of the day, which we're going to kind of title this the tech of computers, the tech of PCs. What makes these things run? How do you get these things firing on all cylinders? Bless you, Jake.
Thank you.
Didn't hear you, but I saw you.
Yeah, I very quickly muted everything. I'm like, no, bad.
But anyways, so I've got my notes here on my phone here. I came prepared. So
Let's start. What?
All right, go ahead. I was just saying the tech of PCs. What's in a PC? What makes it run? What things do what? And what kind of specs are you looking for in each of these parts? That whenever you go to build your own PC, should you be looking for?
Right.
So,
can I talk on the heart of the PC being the CPU? Please?
Yeah, I've got a little bit here on the CPU. Let me just kind of give the description, and you can kind of talk about all the specs and whatnot, because I feel like you are the guy who knows the specs. You're all about the specs.
I'm all about the specs.
So a CPU, short for Central Processing Unit. It's literally the most essential part of the PC build. Depending on what chip you choose, you'll be locked into a selection of motherboards with a variety of different chipsets, kind of available to you. So that's basically, the CPU is what processes everything. Any mouse click, keyboard stroke, that kind of, any kind of that's basically the brain of the computer. That's what makes it think.
Right.
So Jake, if you want to continue on from there and kind of talk about the CPU.
Right. So, it's it's the heart of the PC. Which there are the AMD and the Intel chipset types. Which goes off of the motherboard. Intel chipsets will only fit into an Intel motherboard or an Intel chipset compatible motherboard. AMD will only fit into a AMD compatible motherboard. So if you're on AMD, you'd want like the AMD or the AM4, I believe is what it's called. Like AM4, I think. Yeah, yep, AM4, which is for the Ryzen series. Which what I most know it as. It's the Ryzen 5, 7, I believe 9 also. Yeah, everything from Ryzen 3 up goes AM4. Intel, which I forget the name of the actual chipset, but it's slightly different, which it is the
it's like the I dash, I.
Yeah, because it's like all of their it's like i7K whatever, like i7K 3600, I guess. Or sorry, 8700. With its comparison being the 3700 or the 3600 AMD Ryzen 5. Which they're about the same. So
when you say they're about the same, you're talking about like the processing speeds, the
right.
3500 gigahertz per,
yes. At the level of the Ryzen 5 3600 versus the i7 8700K, the Intel is slightly faster, but at a price difference of 50 some odd bucks, 60 bucks, like $65. There is a bit of a difference in price. And for a tenth of a gigahertz, that's really not that much of a difference for a 6-core 12-threaded or 12-thread CPU.
Gotcha. So I mean, with the CPU being the brain, being the brains, the kind of I guess the heart, what kind of makes everything pump and work of the operation. It ultimately goes into the motherboard. Now I don't have much on motherboards. A motherboard's a motherboard. They come in a couple different sizes depending on depending on what kind of bill you're looking at. I mean, when you're looking at a motherboard, you just need to make sure it's compatible with the CPU that you want to use. Because the motherboard, I mean, they come in a couple different shapes and sizes. With their, they have the onboard graphics, but if you're building your own PC, you're ultimately gonna have a graphics card. Just want to make sure it's got, you got enough slots for RAM and what kind of RAM it takes. Yeah, I mean, the motherboard, nothing like super special about picking a motherboard. It's more or less pick your CPU and make sure that you can find a compatible motherboard. Right. Yeah.
But that also goes off of case. Because if let's say we have a standard ATX case, you can have a ATX or lower motherboard, but you can't go too low or else it'll be too small. Wow, my white balance is way off on this camera. Auto white balance me. Oh, I'm pink.
The
heck.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to be a little bit cautious when picking the motherboard, but it's not something you need to get like super in detailed with.
Right.
On what you're picking out.
You can just look at the case specs and it'll tell you what all motherboard sizes it does support.
Yeah. And then so I mean, ultimately, I mean, you kind of when you're building out your PC, you pick your case last.
Right. Always pick case last. Unless you want a specific case.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to go for a smaller, compacted, sleek, slim build, then
pick the case first, and then go from there.
Yeah, but if you're more about power and processing speeds and all that, get your parts nailed down first, and you'll find the case that fits it. If you don't really care how the case looks, but anyway, moving on to the next piece that I think is important, is the RAM or memory. So that's your random access memory. That's your short term memory. Like that's what kind of holds like
all the stuff getting ready to open, getting ready to launch. Like, I'm using this now, but here in 30 days, I can forget about it. Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, it's called random access memory. I kind of refer to it as, short term, the short term memory of the PC. So that comes in all, that there, also kind of determines what motherboard, you have, because certain motherboards only fit certain slotted RAM.
And motherboards also have a max capacity of RAM. That's another big thing.
Yeah, so if your motherboard can only handle 16 gigs of RAM, there's no use of filling up 4 slots of 8 gig sticks of RAM, because
you're only using 16 of that. Oh, you're only using 16 of the 32 that you spent money on.
Yeah. Yep. So when you're picking out your motherboard, it's something to look at. I mean, I know we said it kind of wasn't important, but know the specs of the motherboard you pick
Right.
out, so you don't waste money in buying more than what you can use.
Yeah, like
Um,
I don't. Anytime I'm building a PC, I go generally nothing below 64 gigs of memory for someone who's doing just gaming, maybe a little bit of streaming, recording. Nothing below 64 gigs max. Uh, in our PC build, I did. I think his max is like 128 gigs, so he can put all the RAM.
yeah, yeah. I would say if you're doing any kind of I would probably say any kind of streaming, gaming, kind of anything like that. I mean, 32 gigs is would probably get the job done. Uh,
16 is like good for pretty much everything. 32 is pretty
yeah,
much always better.
yeah, yeah. So, my work PC, I've got 32 gigs slapped in there. But I'm running 4 monitors, multiple applications, and I'm
Right.
doing remote access and things like that. So there's the need for that. I've got 3 or 4 remote access windows opened, and then also a couple different applications opened up at the same time. Definitely need the 32 gigs of RAM. So I had before I got this whole work PC thrown together, I was running off I think 8 gigs of RAM, and trying to run 4 monitors.
Didn't work,
Yeah,
eh?
trying to run 4 monitors, multiple applications, and remote access Windows on 8 gigs of RAM. It got very very slow very quickly. Um,
Can we go
so that
on
kind of
to memory, please? Or sorry, storage, not memory, storage.
Yeah. So storage is your is when we talk the difference between memory and storage. RAM is your
Is
short
memory.
term as memory. Storage is
The
the
brain.
long term. Yeah, the brain, the long term. I still say long term memory. That's just kind of how I differentiate the two
Right.
when talking. So Jake, go ahead, and because you did all the research here
On the
on the
RAM.
storage. Yeah.
Um, so basically, to hook up that, SATA power, SATA cable. In the motherboard, there's really only three types of storage, two main, but then off of one of them there is a slightly smaller version of it. You have a slightly more common, slightly cheaper version type of storage, which is the hard disk drive. It's basically lots of disks held up by magnets. So keep magnets away from them. That'll ruin your drives. And they spin and they read and write. And then you need to refragment them every once in a while to make sure everything's like pushed up closer to the center of the disk, so it can actually find it quicker. Generally. Then you have the SSD, which is basically a thumb drive, a lot bigger. And it's a lot quicker. And it's basically a thumb drive. It works the same way. They are better for boot drives. Hard drives are better for like a mass storage. Really anything over like a terabyte of storage that like it's just gonna sit there for a while. I would recommend a hard drive, but if you have the money to do it, go for a SSD. Things will just run a lot quicker. Then you also have the M.2 SSD, which is slightly new. I forget when that actually came out. It was the last couple years, I believe. But it's about the size of a RAM stick, and it plugs in to the M.2 slot on the motherboard if there is one. If there isn't, you can also use a PCIe 3.0 adapter to actually plug into the PCIe 3.0 slot on the motherboard. So you can use, I believe there are ones that support 2 sticks or 4 sticks. of the M.2 SSDs. They are about the same storage as the SSDs. Not a big difference there. Other than it's directly plugged into the motherboard, then through a cable.
Okay. So a couple of different options there for memory, or storage, I should say.
Yeah.
Better than memory. Nowadays you almost kind of want a terabyte of storage.
For general storage, I recommend minimum a terabyte and a half, split onto 2 different drives. A half terabyte for boot and essential stuff, and then a terabyte for just mass storage. But if you're into gaming, I recommend 2.5. Same setup, except for then have a terabyte for game storage.
Yeah. Yep. So, oh man, where was I at? Yeah. So we can move on to the fun stuff now.
Woo,
Which would
fun
be
stuff.
the graphics card.
Would you like to talk about the graphics card?
I can just kind of talk, about what it does. The graphics card kind of determines what your desktop will be able to visually render, like the output. Alternately, you get you want to start, streaming videos, and you want 4K video. Also, you're going to need a graphics card that can handle
4K video.
4K video. Just because you have a 4K monitor doesn't mean that your computer can render 4K video.
Right. And that also comes at a performance decrease depending on how many monitors you have hooked up. Because surprisingly,
I did not know that.
Yeah. My motherboard, not motherboard, sorry, graphics card can hook up 3 monitors. I had 2 to begin with. I hooked up another one. I noticed a bit of screen tearing, and as well as just some general slowness in games. A slight decrease. I think I lost like 10 frames in games, depending on the game, because it's trying to output more to another monitor, because it has to render every single pixel, every movement that happens over there on the third monitor.
What I'm saying is just, spend the money, throw that 3070 series in there, and call it a day.
Not exactly, but yeah. Not exactly, but yeah.
Yeah. So spend that $300 on your graphics card.
Yeah, having the better graphics card, you can never have too powerful of a graphics card, unless you're rocking dual Titans, then you're crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, the graphics card is always fun. I'm a guy who I like my monitors. I like having the multiple screens, being able to multitask, especially when I get into my work and stuff like that. It kills me right now, having my laptop set up and I only got one screen. And if I got I actually have, all of my notes, instead of pulled up on my, on my monitor here, I would actually have them, pulled up on my phone, and it's just kind of driving me nuts a little bit. But you sacrifice some things whenever you're on the road.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you didn't hook it up to the TV there behind you. Is that the TV or is that the headboard?
That's my headboard there. So I pulled my HDMI cable out of my bag.
No.
At some point in time, doing something. I think it was like the last episode we did when I was at home.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have been the last episode of season 1. When I was at home, I pulled it out of my bag because my computer was dead, so I did it off my laptop. But I opened up two monitors.
That was last week. Yeah, that was last week, I think.
So I've misplaced my HDMI cable and haven't put it back in my backpack yet.
Oh, that's funny. Because
that's what I'll do. I'll roll into the hotels and I'll set my laptop up next to the TV, and I'll run my run my streaming services and stuff onto the TV, Netflix or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, from my
Monitor
laptop onto the.
Having 3 monitors is awesome for me. It says video editor. I edit videos sometimes. 3 monitors is awesome. I can have files over here, editor up there, and a Green Day concert up there. Because Green Day's awesome.
Wouldn't have pinned you for a Green Day fan, Jake.
Dude, I love Green Day, man.
Oh man, they've been around a while.
Yeah.
I was a Green Day fan in high school once.
In high school once.
All right. So let's talk about now. We'll go power supplies last.
Power supply.
Let's go air coolers.
Ooh.
Let's go cooling.
Cooling
down
in
the
general.
PC. Yeah. So two types of ways to cool the PC.
Three.
Yeah, 3. I've got 3 here. I forgot because it was a tiny point there.
I mean, well, no. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna let you talk.
So we've got air cooled, liquid cooled, and passive coolers. So air coolers,
well then 4 types. Because people can also run like a hybrid setup.
Okay. So air coolers, ultimately fans and heat sinks. Then there's the liquid cooled, has piping and everything running through. Basically, all runs and basically slings liquid at the top. Runs it over top of the CPU to keep it cool. Because I don't know if you've ever done it before, Jake, but I fired up a PC, let it run. It wouldn't boot. Kept trying to get it to boot. Figured it was the CPU that was giving me problems. Popped it out and tried to grab the CPU right away.
And it burned you? Yep.
Burned the crap out of me.
They get hot, dude.
Yeah, they get hot quick.
Yeah, that's why anytime that happens, I'll shut it off. I'll let it sit for an hour. Because I just don't. Yeah. That's why I don't like drill bits either. Because apparently I knew nothing about friction and or heat.
Oh yeah, no, you start slinging a drill bit, you don't touch that thing for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so air cooler, air cooled is just a series of fans, and even over the CPU, most of them when you buy a CPU, they come with their own fan that mounts on the motherboard.
That's not true. I think past Ryzen 5 does not.
Okay.
It actually could be Ryzen 7, I forget. But yeah, they don't. Some of them do, some of them don't. I don't think Intel sends a stock cooler.
Okay.
I think only AMD does a stock.
Okay. There was a couple CPUs we had bought before that did come with a stock cooling fan. Moving on to liquid cooled. Liquid cooled, I think it looks cool. It's slick. It's sexy. You can get the different colored liquids going through there, but I don't recommend it. I really don't. There's just something about putting water or putting liquid inside your PC that just terrifies me.
I would love to have it, but I would never. Okay, I might, but something about liquids and PCs terrify me. Because one leak, your possibly motherboard could be toast, CPU could be toast, something could be fried.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust it. I know there's people that do it and do it well and are all about it, but I just me personally couldn't trust it.
Right.
But I do think some people make it look slick with the clear tubing.
Yeah,
and
clear
hard color.
Clear hard acrylic with the goldish color uh connectors that I really like that. Clear hard
Yeah.
acrylic with the gold gold colored connectors with a blue liquid that I really like those.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a couple builds that were um but yeah, no, I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it personally. But for those of you guys who do it out there, and um, for those of you out here that do it and do it well, congratulations. I just couldn't trust it.
You guys are
Couldn't
crazy.
trust it. Yeah, but more power to you. So then next, the passive cooling. I've never seen it. But basically, it's just um, helps keeps the PC quiet, like dead silent. Apparently keeps this thing dead silent, but it's apparently nothing more than cleverly engineered heat sinks. But I've never seen it. Doesn't In my research, didn't look up to see what it looked like.
So it's
Um,
basically like a TIE fighter. Those giant wings are just giant heat sinks. It's basically all it is, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Just a way to pull the heat off of the
Right.
board or wherever it is, and disperse it elsewhere, and then the case fans get it. So
Right. Passive cooling PC. I just kind of want to like see these. Oh, okay. So it's literally just a giant heat sink off of the side of the PC. That's really
okay.
cool.
Yeah, I imagine that would keep it quite quiet.
Quiet, but
Um,
probably kind of ugly.
yeah.
Looks a little ugly.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine a giant heat sink on the side of the PC. But
Yeah.
efficiency over looks.
Okay, so going for efficiency, I'm going liquid. Safety, I'm going air. Cool factor, I'm going passive.
There we go. You guys heard
Uh,
it here from the master.
passive, maybe liquid for cool factor.
Yeah,
Because there's something about a really well done RGB cooling setup, liquid cooling, that looks really good.
yeah, yeah. Especially when you get to the bubbles kind of going through there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So one more thing, and then we'll talk about power supplies. Fans. So the fans. I mean, we were kind of talking about the coolers, um, but the fans. If you're going to go air cooled,
You need, I say four, three input, one output. That's just my
yeah. But apparently there's different size fans.
right.
Um, they all spin, depending on the fans you get, they spin at different RPMs. I mean, ultimately, if you get a larger fan that spins fast, you're going to get a little bit more noise. You get
Right.
you get a smaller fan that spins fast, you might not have as much noise. If you just get but if you get a large fan that spins a little bit slower, it's still going to move a good amount of air, but it's going to be quieter. So those are the kind of things you need to look at when you get in your fans. If you're not too worried about a little bit of a hum, then you can certainly go with the faster RPMs. But sometimes, faster RPMs don't always mean,
More air movement because it really depends on the actual shape of the fan, like fan blades,
yeah,
depending on what
yep.
moves air.
Yeah, and that all kind of depends on the size of the fan and how they
Right.
can twist and manipulate that fan blade. But fans, they come in all shapes and sizes and now colors, and you can RGB it. And
Yeah. Copper size is 120. Uh, Sometimes 140. Most radiators, a lot of radiators I've seen use 200. depending on the type of radiator for the PC. But generally 120 is the most common. Pop
And I
pop
thought,
like three of those onto a liquid cool radiator. It'll work.
yeah, and I think the average RPM I saw, I think I didn't write it down. I should have. It was a pretty cool fact. I think it was 1,200 RPMs. Um, it was probably about the average, the average
Six
rotation,
thousand.
6,000.
Is the norm.
100. Okay, 120. The 120 was the average size, and then
Right.
yeah, 6,000 is about the average. Yeah, average rotation. So now that we've kind of gone through all of our PC parts, we talked about the CPU, the graphics card, the RAM,
Wait,
the coolers.
6,000. That feels a little high. 6,000 feels a lot
Nah,
high.
probably not. Probably not.
It depends. But yeah.
But yeah, when you're buying fans, try, look through a couple of them, check and see the RPMs and see um, check and see the RPMs and see and kind of see where they're at
I
and the
feel like it's
size
probably
of
around
them.
like 2,000 or so.
Yeah.
Because 6,000 seems really high.
Yeah, I mean that's spinning. That's spinning pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been some times I've stuck my hand in a live PC and gotten dinged up by a fan moving pretty quick. So 6,000 wouldn't surprise me if that's the number, but it does. But I mean that's moving pretty quick.
Yeah. I think it's more down towards like 2,000.
Yeah. So we've got all these parts. So now we need to talk about how to power them all.
Power
Everything needs
supply.
power.
Power supply.
A power supply.
Or PSU.
So, where's my note on power supplies?
It's
Right
right
here.
underneath RAM.
Yep, gotcha. Good note. You paid attention.
Yeah.
So a reliable power supply is the most crucial part of the PC, as it's responsible for supplying power to run any and all of the other components in your computer. Without a crucial foundation, your PC will fail to even start. A system built on a shaky ground is doomed for failure, is the note that I had in my phone. And that was my play on words there a little bit. I failed as a researcher to I guess it all depends on it. I mean, the size of your power supply all depends on the parts you put in it, which is
Right.
why I put it last, or why I wanted to talk about it last.
And I generally add it last unless I just go for like a 650 watt power supply. Then I just,
Yeah, and sometimes slapping the biggest power supply in there is not always the right thing to do. I mean, it's never bad. It's never really a bad thing to have more power than you need, but sometimes
but you don't want to have too much.
right, yeah, you don't want to have too much power and in the PC when it's really just not getting utilized. It makes no sense to throw a 650 watt power supply in there when you're only using like 325.
Right. But I always like to
always use. I would say have a power supply to be able to but only use 3/4 of it.
Right. Yeah, like I like my minimum is like 650 just because I want to be able to upgrade. Upgrading is
I mean it's always good to kind of plan for future upgrades, but at the same time, if it's not necessarily needed if you're not planning on having to redo the computer. every 2 years.
Right.
So and the size of the power supply, you get a 650. It's taking up some room in the PC.
Right.
So that's also the thing. You kind of pick your power supply and your case kind of at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I would not recommend a 650 in a small case. That's what I did accidentally with, not accidentally, but I just wasn't thinking inside of the guy's build. It was so bad. How'd you freaking needle nose pliers to plug crap in?
Yep. So space is a virtue when it comes to putting the PCs together, because you have none.
Space?
You have none.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. You have none to begin with in a PC build, and then to slap in, the biggest power supply you can get, starts making things a little tight.
Yeah.
You want to know what irks me the most about
What?
about some PC builds is the graphics cards. When you slap them in there, you can't get the RAM back out. You can't get the RAM out without taking out the graphics card.
In some builds.
Builds. I hate it when you run across that.
Yeah.
Like
that is just bad motherboard design.
It is. It was too close to the the slots for the graphics card were too close to the RAM slots, and then it's just, they kind of overlap. It was kind of frustrating, to say the least.
Because that makes troubleshooting an absolute pain in the butt, because you gotta take stuff out to plug something in, and that's just not fun. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah, exactly. So, but all right, guys. Well, that is kind of everything you need to know and love and hate about.
Love and hate.
PC.
Yep.
So hopefully that if you are watching this and going in to build one of your own PCs, you learned a thing or two from what we've found and brought to you, and some from prior experience of putting a couple PCs together. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm all wrapped up. Jake, are you all wrapped up?
I think
we covered every piece we can think of. I mean, other than your USB hubs and that all kind of comes with the the USB slots and the maybe a disc reader, but that's one plug coming in. There's not much. There's not much to really a disc reader. It's just one that you just check make sure it's compatible with your motherboard.
Right, and also with your case. Some cases don't have slot for it.
Slots for it. Yeah. There's always the option for the external USB plug-in disc readers.
Right.
Audio jacks usually can come off of the video, your graphics cards. Or there's slots on it on the case, or there's definitely an audio jack on the onboard graphics slots.
That's actually how I got my setup to work here, because just did not want to work.
Yeah,
so plugged into the motherboard and it worked. Makes sense.
There you go. But yeah, so that's all I've got for this week, Jake.
I think that's all I have. I think.
All right. Well, so next week we'll probably pre-record again, because of it being next Thursday being Christmas Eve.
Yeah. I'm sorry for everything being pre-recorded.
Yeah. No, it's quite a bummer, because I enjoy doing this live.
Yeah, I do too. I seriously enjoy doing it live.
But maybe I guess the first of the year video will have to be live, and that's I say we start off 2021 right with a game night.
Yeah.
So
I think I think we might. I know what game we might have to play.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I know we can't.
All right. Well,
If your PC can run it, of course, because last time we did game night, no, it was the time before we did the game night. Like I kind of bricked your PC. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I told you to Google something and I bricked your PC.
Yeah. No, that PC was doomed from the get go anyway.
Yeah. All right. Tech team is gonna yell at us because we're gonna turn into past Randy here. You're gonna run out of time. Actually, we done did.
Yeah. How long did we go for?
We haven't
been on for an hour.
It's been 51 minutes.
51 minutes. That's about average. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. So next week, come check out the PC build. We'll finally release it to you and show it to you. I know we've been talking about it for like 3 weeks now, and everyone's probably been itching to 4 weeks to kind of see it.
Camera shots are not very good. I was more focused on building the PC than recording. Sorry about that, but I had to get this thing done.
Maybe we try to get with Billy and see if he can jump on with us during the stream and talk about the PC and see how he likes it. So we'll have to reach out to Billy for that. But all right, everybody, we're gonna sign off here. We'll see you next week. See you on the PC build.
Yep. See you guys next week.